Cats, cops, and C4. The answer was yes, but Vera had assumed she was on her period and was being polite by not bringing it up. Nor had she known the pattern to Miss Big, but something was still missing. The veils are part of it, but where did the Nagasha come in? Was she a new addition? Was Miss Big expanding her forces, or was something else going on? As they all return to the precinct the next day, the first thing Linda brings up is a DNA test of the Nagasha killer. Her body had been very badly damaged, but you'd have to reduce it to charcoal and carbon if you wanted to stop at least a partial DNA red. And it comes up as odd. There are telltale signs of her being a clone. One where the original was under protection. We can't just piss off a primal Nagasha, even one known to be a criminal, Linda states after the name and immediate relationships of the woman in question comes out. We're not pissing her off. Miss Big is, we're just informing her of it. Cenk says, Rikaksa may have a sense of honor and duty, but the woman is still a hardened criminal who's entirely willing to send people to the morgue if you send one of hers to the hospital, Linda states. Or to do you a solid and pay a literal blood debt if you end up killing one of her dumber daughters or employees. She's red in finger and fang, and that's not due to scale pigmentation, Cenk says. From my understanding, Lady Rikaksa is simultaneously a brutal enemy and a stalwart ally, one that has had positive encounters with the Undaunted and its men, Malon states calmly. Well, either way, she's going to see any potential manipulations coming a mile away no matter what. So we don't even try that. Or rather, we don't try any she'll object to. Modan states, I propose a, what was the term? Ah yes, a Batman gambit. A what? Amy asks. She's insisted on staying close to them, and it was easier than most. But it meant that Modan, who was her assigned bodyguard for now, was also sticking around. All right, I know Batman, but the hell is a Batman gambit? Cenk asks. Who's Batman? Amy asks a little louder this time. Modan clears his throat for a little speech. A fictional character that uses bat-like iconography to fight crime. Well noted for his mental games with his enemies. The Batman Gambit is to set off a series of events by understanding the behavior of your target. In this case, Lady Rikaksa, the primal Nagasha head of the Seven Tails of the Nagasha, has had one of her daughters cloned and used as an assassin. We simply inform her of this, and she's going to, at the very least, look into it, which will not end well for Miss Big. I don't care how careful or well hidden you are, someone that can call a holy crusade on a whim is going to at least get a good idea of where you are. She's also likely to throw whatever is left of Miss Big and her organization to us after she's had her say for a final insult to go with the injury. It is also illegal in more ways than can be casually counted to simply point one criminal gang at another and encourage a war to take place. So we're going to have that as an absolute last resort just before giving up. Okay? Linda asks in a somewhat amused tone. Fair enough, but yes, that's where our investigation into the assassin goes. Clone of Hilga Septail, one of the more unimpressive daughters that's still in good standing with Lady Rikaksa. Although I should be clearer, she's a brutal warrior, a very, very skilled gladiator and martial artist. She's just known to be utterly lacking in imagination or ambition, beyond being too strong to force into anything. Now, whether that's something genetic or the result of having your mother worshipped as a goddess could go either way, the woman has had a rash of disappointing daughters, but there we go, Modan says. Why do you know this? Chunk asks him. What you don't think a study of one of the closest primals isn't something a nerd would do. Modan returns and Cenk gives a tilt to his head to concede the point. All right, well, we have the who and the how and a possible way to solve the problem. Granted, it would be like using dynamite to deal with a squeaky hinge, but it's there, Cenk says. So our main target is Miss Big. Whatever the parties tried to kill Amy is the best way to find it is to track down their main attack puppet, then follow the strings to the hand holding it. But first we need to get the puppet's puppets. Say that 5 times fast, Modan says in a sarcastic tone. Make me, Cenk says. I can do that, Modan says eagerly. No, you can't. Cenk challenges, and both men slowly turn their heads to glare the other down. If I have to start spraying you two with water, I will. Do not test me on this, Linda threatens, and both men start looking away all innocent-like. And it was a strange joke. Of course it was. Back on target then, We were close to another one of Miss Big's hands. The snicked name unknown, and if the pattern holds true, the next time we bump into her, she'll have a different face and answer to a different name, if any at all. So the question is, how do we track a shapeshifter? I really don't like powering up my nose. There's so many nasty, disgusting things all over the place in a city. If you put too much energy in, then even basic engine lube smells 10 kinds of awful, and that stuff's all over the place like rain on Centris. The spots where the spires meet have the ground stained milky white and slippery as all get out thanks to that stuff. But did you get her scent? Chunk asks, and Vera shrugs. Not sure if it was hers. I smelt the blood on her though. But you thought it was her period? I did. There's a certain twist in it, if it's menstrual. It had that twist. Why the Modan glances to Amy, who looks back at him innocently. I know the swear words, she assures him. Why the fuck is a criminal using a woman on her period as an enforcer? That's insane. Not if, Are there any strange axiom effects or drugs that can put a woman on her bleeds early? Modan asks with a slight blush. Thankfully, no one calls him out on it. Cenk does snort at the uncomfortable look on his face, though, and gets a dirty look in return. None that would be useful in controlling someone or combat. However, it can be a side effect of a flash cloning effect, Malon says slowly. Really? Well, yes, but such a clone would be unstable, wasteful, and unable to live long. It would be hours at most before some parts of them shut down. Malon explains, and there's a silence. Then what good would they be to anyone? Cenk demands. What if it's a distraction? Amy asks. That's a good point. Fresh blood as a smell is a clear attempt at intimidation. That it's period blood is likely a coincidence, as that would just confuse the hell out of someone that's clearly going for intimidation. An overly tall Tret, a bloody Snikt, a red and white Pavoris, now a greater desert Nagasha? Clearly she's going for intimidation in all of them, Modan says as he considers. Hello, we have an answer, Linda says after reading a message on her communicator. What is it? Before we got here, I had a request for information on where that Snikt came from. We don't have her name yet, but we do have a vehicle. Agent of Miss Big or not, she's still a suspect in murder, if for no other reason than her behaving really suspicious around the scene of the crime. So is the car getting traced? As we speak, Linda says before getting another alert on her communicator. And we have an answer. Cenk, Vera, you're both with me. Malon, stay with Modan and Amy, please. We're going to go say hello to whoever's been driving around our assassin, Linda says, taking control. The lead takes them a full 10 spires away to a small car park. The vehicle in question is owned by a small courier company with a stable of drivers. One that honestly shouldn't be shuttling around people. This business is about packages and food, not a taxi service. Oh, hello, may I help you? The secretary asks as they enter. Vera sniffing at the air before shaking her head. Yes, hello. This is police business, Linda says, holding up her badge as Cenk reveals his own. Not for this spire. It is when we trace a potential killer to one of your vehicles. Why is your courier company acting like a taxi? What? Here's the license number. I need to know who was driving the matching vehicle yesterday and where they were mid-afternoon. Who they were in contact with and where they were before and after. I'll do you one better. I have internal video, the secretary says before tapping a few commands at her workstation. Now let's see it. On this side. You'll want to see this. All three of them move over to stand behind her, and she shows them a clip of a video that shows the Snikt woman suddenly appearing in the back of the vehicle and politely bribing the driver to simply let them out on their road. A teleportation beacon being shuttled around? Clever, Cenk says. Back that up a few more seconds, please. You saw it too? Vera asks. I think so. It looked like a... Chunk begins before the video slowly crawls backwards and pauses to show the teleportation beacon being held in the Snikt's hand, with a clear brand logo that consists of 3 arrows pointing into a circle and what looks like part of a serial number. Bingo! Not sure on the language of those numbers, though. Well, if we can get a copy of this video and all the information you have on that package, then we can be out of here and on to the next clue, Linda says and quickly receives a download. Thank you for your cooperation, ma'am. You make this job so much easier. Company policy: if a police officer is flashing a badge, just give them what they need and move on. It's a good one. Thank you, ma'am, Chink says, and they all leave. That was pleasant enough. Most of this is like that. Makes the moments people start acting like idiots really stand out. Linda notes as she fiddles with her communicator. You drive. I need to do some research. Sure, Chink says as they pile into the patrol car. The takeoff is smooth and the route is simple. Linda is, however, frowning at the image. These are Alphar numerals and definitely a serial number. The logo points to Dark Blossom Mystic Emporium. Interesting name. It's translated, but my tongue doesn't like that overly flowery language, Linda remarks. The device in question is a specialized teleportation beacon with an attached ring. Basically, you put it anywhere, and it builds power and waits for a signal. You run Axiom through the ring, and it warps you to the totem in such a way that your hand is wrapped around it. Why not just make your own? Vera asks. Not everyone's got the willingness to go like you or I. Most people live fairly boring lives and just want convenience. Buying a totem like this is easier than making one yourself or just learning to teleport. Oh, boring people. Got it. So who sent the totem to begin with? An anonymous party. It was scanned for illicit substances, and when it came up clean, it was promptly okayed. It's a popular enough service that normally sees people sending presents or playing games. They outright advertise it, but warn that they scan all packages for anything even slightly illegal and will flat out refuse anything that trips even the slightest warning. And Dark Blossom Mystic Emporium? Do they keep a record of purchases? Chink asked. If not, then they risk their business license. Linda answers. Cool. So we're going where? Orbit. The main offices are in the stations above. We need a proper shuttle over an air car. These are not rated for heading up there, Linda says. Right, and I don't think I've got the approval to fly that. No, you don't, Linda agrees. It's not that I don't know how, it's just that I can, Vera interrupts. Since when? Since you two get wrapped up in the boring stuff, and I go and find something to do without getting into trouble. I'm rated for all police vehicles now. And this never came up. Why? You never brought it up. I suppose I didn't, Chink says, knowing better than to try and argue.